Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
All right, folks, let's get it. Hope you're all having a good one. Wednesday edition of the show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Woo, do we have a big show for you today? How many of you were locked into that game last night? Oh, yeah, playoff hockey is going to be fun. Playoff hockey is going to be an absolute riot. Let's go. The only thing that bummed me out about last night's game is that I was not at last night's game. But me and Brody, the 14-year-old, were glued to the TV set. And, you know, the thing I've really enjoyed about hockey lately, Lloyd, is that, you know, football, you can kind of like scroll through your phone a little bit in between plays. You can't let up on hockey. Like, you have to be glued into that thing nonstop. There's no looking down at your phone and, you know, scrolling through the reels or any of that other nonsense. Like, you have to be, like, visually committed to that sport. Like, you have to be dialed in, whether you're there or watching on TV.
The ebbs and flows of the game are so crazy because I've had time. I'll admit it. I've had times where, because, you know, I don't have it, you know, I'm not DVRing it or whatever. I have it on the old rabbit ears and I'm watching it that way. And all of a sudden they're down, you know, maybe 2-0 or 3-0 or whatever.
3-1.
3-1, whatever. And, you know, it's like, okay, let me go do something for a sec. And all of a sudden before I come back and it's like a tied game. It's like, whoa, wait, what just happened? This happened all in the first period. Wait, what?
Yeah.
It's crazy how quick the momentum shifts. And it just seems like when you think, you know, because goals are so hard to come by, just when you think it's like, oh, man, this game's over. They got it. It's locked. It's like, no, they don't. Or, you know, before you know it, it's tied, and it's like, it's crazy. I mean, just look at what I know. I mentioned it. I said, man, they have to figure something out with this. Scoring a goal and giving up a goal within 10 seconds. Like, it's crazy. But if you blink, all of a sudden the other team's scoring or you're scoring, whichever. It's wild.
The only time, well, I guess they led with the first goal of the game, and then after that, the only time they led,
they scored within
10 seconds. Yeah,
10 seconds. And I was like, wow, that was fast.
Both teams, one shot, one goal to start the game. And, oh, man, it was great. And if you were at that game last night, insanely jealous. I was close to going and just didn't pull the trigger on it, and I have huge FOMO on that one.
I'll be honest, I didn't think they were going to win. I didn't, especially when it went OT and you have a guy like Connor McDavid. I'm like, no, it's over. Like, there's no chance. And sure enough, you get that trip, and it's like, okay, now all of a sudden we got a 4-on-3 ball game. Like, it's crazy.
Well, you know, you go into overtime, and you're playing against one of the most athletic, fastest guys on the planet in Connor McDavid, and you're thinking, all right, well, you know what? 4-on-4 in OT against that guy, it probably isn't going to end well. So you're like, all right, you know what? We're down 3-1. You have a chance to at least get a point out of it. All right, you know, go into OT, you'll get your overtime loss. And then as soon as you mention that you get that tripping and it's 4-on-3, it's like, oh.
I told the boys, I'm like, well, at least the Mammoths are going to get a point.
Yeah.
That's what I said. At least they're going to get a point now, because I thought it was going to be difficult. And I know I said it, give me 7 more of these games in the playoffs, but I think I'd rather them go against somebody else and maybe have to play the Oilers later on, because that team is. I just don't think that. I don't know if that's a team you want to face. I know they got off the schneid. They were able to get that win finally against Edmonton in their first win in franchise history, but that Oilers team, I still think is.
Oh, they're awesome. And then if they get a little bit more healthy,
and they get Draisaitl, they get him back, and I just don't think that's a team you want to face in the playoffs. So all I meant by give me 7 more of those types of games. Yeah. Give me 7 more of those.
And honestly,
doesn't have to be the Oilers.
Honestly, I'll tell you, let's go. Edmonton, let's do this. Let's go. 7 games. Let's have some fun. Because one thing that I think was really important last night is the fact that you were down 3-1, and it looked miserable. And that second period, I think, was a statement period for Utah. And now they gave up the easy goal, as you mentioned, with 10 seconds and we're down 4-3, but then we're able to tie it up at 4-4 going into the third. But that was like, okay, you know what? We're down to a really good team. How are we going to respond? And the offense just kept plugging away, shot after shot. And it kept thinking like, oh, man, there's so many of these missed opportunities. But how many times do we talk to Bill Armstrong? And he's always the same, saying, you know what? You just keep cranking shots and good things are going to happen. And that's what happened last night. In fact, let's get to it. Starting lineup, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to kick off the show with the biggest headlines of the day. This is your starting lineup on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
The Mammoth power play has been as hot as it's been all year over the last 5 games in which they have 9 power play goals. They win the face-off here. It's a 4-on-3. Sergachev this way for Keller. Right dot, he shoots and scores! Captain on deck! A 6-5 overtime win for the Utah Mammoth. Statement made.
Mike Folta on the call. You heard it right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, as the Mammoth in OT knock off Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. First time in Utah Mammoth history that the home team was able to get the victory against the Edmonton Oilers. And what a great game, too. Just fantastic hockey. And if you're not yet indoctrinated to this sport, you watched that game last night, whether it was live or on TV, or listening to it on the radio, you're in. You are all the way in. This is going to be a hockey town, and it's getting there quickly. Now, granted, if the Jazz do what we all anticipate that they're going to do next year, reverse the course, start winning games, I fully anticipate, based on that roster that the Jazz have, and if you add even a marginal impact piece in the draft, let's say worst case scenario, you're picking 8th in the draft. Well, actually, there is one worst case scenario, but we won't get to that. But let's say
that doesn't matter. Don't worry about that. That's not going to happen.
Let's not worry about that. But if the Jazz do pick 8, you hope to get a good, strong rotational player at 8, and I think that's going to be available for the Jazz. Maybe not a franchise-altering player like you'll get in the first 2 or 3 picks of the draft, but certainly a good player that can help out next year. With that roster and the emergence of Ace Bailey and everybody back healthy, and if Walker Kessler, the Jazz figure out what to do with him in restricted free agency, the Jazz will be a playoff team next year. I would lay the mortgage down on that the Jazz, and I'm entertainment purposes only here, folks, but I would say that the Jazz are a playoff team next year. And this is a Jazz town. I understand that. But there are going to be singular moments where you look at the progression of the Utah Mammoth and their evolution in entrenching themselves into the society of Salt Lake City and having people really latch onto this team and not just be like, oh, yeah, that's our hockey team. We like it when they do well. But you get significantly emotionally attached to that team. Oh, baby. Last night was one of those moments where you will look back on and say, that's when I got all in on this team. And not just as a casual observer, not somebody that, hey, if somebody gives you a free pair of tickets, you go, you enjoy, you have your beverage, and you root for your team, and then you go home and don't really pay attention to them again. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about living and dying on every single solitary game, every single solitary goal. Because just looking at social media, and I get it, that's not real life, but it is somewhat of a microcosm of the sports fandom out there. People were living and dying on every shot last night. And I was too, honestly. Look, I think there's a certain element where we welcome something new into it, like Real Salt Lake. When Real Salt Lake came to Utah, I think all of us were like, okay, this is fun. This is cool. And you almost become a fan of it because you don't necessarily treat it like a big news story. You just like, hey, this is really cool. This team's doing very well. Well, this hockey team shows up in Salt Lake City, and I think all of us became kind of like pseudo fans because it's like, hey, this is cool. Let's watch this team do well. And then all of a sudden they become really good. And they start knocking off really good teams. And you have the best player come into your arena last night and you get the overtime victory. Then it becomes, oh, that's not just a fun team. That's just not a fun story. That's a, holy smokes, this is a big deal. And not only do we need to keep track of what this team is doing, we got to keep track of what everybody else around the league is doing as the Mammoth try to solidify that top wild card spot. And so now you start scoreboard watching. Now you start watching all these other elements involved because you are living and dying with every moment of this team.
Watching the standings.
Oh, yeah.
You get to pick up that win. You're watching the points, seeing, okay, what are the scores? Where are the Kings at? Where's, Anaheim at, who's like on a 6-game losing streak right now, a team that you look like you were gonna probably play in that first round. Like you're watching this. And by the way, Delta Center and the Mammoth fans, they were on full display last night in front of the country because everyone was watching it. All the buzz surrounding the Mammoth. That was a big storyline last night. I'm like, you know what? That's pretty cool. Like, that's awesome. Like, that's a fun little thing to have. You have the shark bony people over with the sharks getting a little bit grumpy. Oh, you just want to be like us. And it's like, no, I think, guess what? The Mammoth did it better.
Oh, yeah.
They did it way better. Your stupid little fin on top of your Zamboni is
Doesn't
lame
count.
and boring.
Nobody cares about
your shark bony.
Stop it. Look, I mean, you go back to the whole element of that game last night, all the way down to the Zamboni. What are we calling it?
The
Zammoth. Zammoth, yeah, sorry. The Zammoth. That thing's cool as hell. I mean, come on.
It's a cool fan experience. It's all about the fans. It's not about cleaning the ice. No. It's like rides for fans.
Honestly, don't you want to take that thing for a spin?
I absolutely do. I'm looking into how I can get on the Zammoth at some point.
I
in my lifetime.
I want to be behind the wheel of that thing.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to just be swinging a flag around.
No. I want to be behind the wheel. I want to be driving that thing.
It's either that or I want to be shooting shirts out of the cannon. One or the other.
Yeah, you need to just... The problem with you and that shirt cannon is that you will be looking at people to hit with that thing.
I'll be sniping.
You're not just trying to get it up into the upper deck.
No, you're right. I probably will be snipering.
Yeah. But such a great atmosphere last night. This thing is blowing up. And you could tell that this is still a team that I think appreciates the fact, because a lot of these guys were in that dumpster fire of a situation down in Arizona where they didn't have an arena. You got an apathetic fan base. You had really terrible ownership. And it just felt like they were in limbo. And they go from that to what you saw last night with, I don't know what capacity is now as they continue to work on that arena, but, 15, 16,000 people losing their minds. And when that last goal goes in and it is sheer pandemonium in that arena, those players are looking up in the crowd and being like, okay, this is home. You have a state-of-the-art practice facility. You have the best ice in the NHL. You have a rabid fan base. You have a building that's already in tip-top shape, but will continue to grow and develop into becoming a massive fixture in downtown. Like, what else would you want if you're a player? I mean, there's really nothing else. This will be a destination location for players in the NHL. Because I guarantee Edmonton Oiler players are on that ice last night thinking, holy smokes. This place is great.
This is a playoff atmosphere.
I want to be a part of this. Now, look, situation in Edmonton's great, but it's still Edmonton. You really want to live in Edmonton? I like that we're Salt Lake, and now we can, throw stones at other cities like, yeah, you don't want to go to Edmonton. Come to Salt Lake. But no, I mean, honestly, with what they've built here in the structure and the fan base and the facilities, you walk into that practice facility, and I've heard from way too many people that know way more about this sport than I do, which isn't hard. But there's a lot of people that I talk to because I recognize I don't know much. So I'm going to talk to other people throughout the league and throughout the organization. And they keep telling me time and time again, there will be people that will come in from out of market and they'll walk into that facility that's being built off of 106 and be like, wow, this is insane. There is nothing in the league like this. And that, props to Ryan Smith and props to SEG, because honestly, that's something they've really sunk their teeth into, is that, okay, you know what? You want to knock on the nightlife or you want to have issues with that? Whatever. We disagree, but okay, fine, whatever. So what we're going to do is we're going to be number one in everything else. So we're going to give you the best facilities. And if you see what they're building for the Jazz and what that's going to look like when that's all said and done, nothing in the NBA is going to touch it. As far as arena experience, as far as catering to the needs and wants of every player and what they need, nobody touches it. And so there is a level of professionalism that is absolutely going throughout both those organizations that you can see come to fruition. Now back to the NHL. Salt Lake City, for some reason, is always going to have a tough time resonating with NBA players. And again, you can go with all the different excuses out there. Some are real, some are not, but it is what it is. Perception, unfortunately, can be reality with players, and Salt Lake City is probably never going to be high on their list. This is another reason why I think the NHL is going to be very high on a lot of fans here in Salt Lake City, because I think you will see teams or players from around the NHL look at Salt Lake City and they'll go, that's where I want to go. I mean, you've already had a player in Uyghur said, you know what, waive that no trade clause. I'll go to Salt Lake City. I've been there. I've seen it. I want to be a part of that. You've got guys locking in with Schmaltz just locked in on an 8-year contract. These guys are committing long-term to this organization. And if there's one thing we know about the fans here in Salt Lake City, there are two things that they value above everything else. Number one, hard work on the court, laying it all on the line, busting your butt. All the intangibles that don't necessarily show up in a box score, but you love it when a guy sells out. He plays through pain. He does everything he can to provide wins for you as a fan. That's number one. Number two is loyalty to the community. And every player who comes in and embraces Salt Lake City will never, ever have to pay for a dinner ever again in the city. It doesn't matter if you're, Karl Malone. It doesn't matter if you're Jay Crowder. It doesn't matter what your level of talent is. If you show up and you bust your butt and you show a level of loyalty to the community, you at least act like you like being here. People will fall all over themselves for you. And now you've got an NHL team that's winning with a bunch of guys that bust their butt and guys that are showing commitment to the community and showing excitement about being here, not just living here because they're drawing a paycheck and that's the only place they can be right now because of contractual obligations, but because they want to be here. They've chosen to be here and they like being here, and they talk constantly about how great this area is. That's what's going to get this fan base fired up. That's why I really believe it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the next 2 years. But I do think 5, 6, 7 years from now that you may very well see the NHL and the Utah Mammoth as a team that is right there neck and neck. I don't think they'll ever surpass the Jazz. Like, if the Jazz are great and the Mammoth are great, I think the Jazz will always be number one. There's just too much history there.
Yeah, they've been here. They've been here way too long. You have the finals, runs against Michael Jordan. It's going to take a lot, and you being in this market for a long time, and maybe it could eventually happen. But the Jazz they have the leg up.
But the thing is, this is generational, and that's why I say like 5 to 7 years. Because I've got a son. He's 14. He doesn't know and hasn't experienced a lot of winning basketball for the Utah Jazz. But what he has experienced is a whole lot of great moments watching NHL hockey with the Utah Mammoth. He's already. When I tell him, hey, look, guess what? On Thursday night, we can go to a Jazz game. Friday night, we can go to a Mammoth game. Which would you rather go to? Every day of the week, twice on Sundays, it's always Mammoth. Mammoth, Mammoth. We're watching a game. Jazz, he's in and out. He's on his phone. He's screwing around. Mammoth, he's dialed in, locked in. He's watching it nonstop. And I think that you and you got your millennials out there, you got your Gen Xers out there that grew up with the Jazz and remember Carl and John, will always be leaning Jazz. That group that are lifers here in Salt Lake City, they'll always be top of mind Utah Jazz. But this next generation that's coming up, the kids that are anywhere from 8 to 14, when you're in those formative years and you're really trying to figure out who you are as a fan and who you're locked into for the rest of your life, 10 years from now, when they're out there buying tickets and buying merchandise, watch out.
Don't get me wrong. The kids are enjoying playing, when they play junior Jazz and playing basketball, they're still loving it. But what do they really want to do right now? They want to play hockey.
Yeah.
Anything and everything. Street hockey, roller hockey, any type of hockey they can do right now, that's what they want to do.
And there is nothing that gets this group fired up than when some dude takes a nasty shot up against the glass. And my kid, you can see it coming a mile away. Puck's on the deep end. You got one guy going toward it and another guy trailing. You know how it's going to end. And, man, it's like blood in the water to kids these days watching that. All right. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Down to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Bob Casper on deck. We're going to chat with him here in just a second. But right now, it's time for Lloyd to assign you a golfer. That's right. It is the Copper Rock Masters giveaway. Be caller number 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. That's 801-575-ZONE. And Lloyd will assign you a golfer in this year's Masters. If your golfer ends up winning the whole thing, then you will win 18 holes of golf for two at Copper Rock Golf Course in Southern Utah. Also, we'll give you a $100 gas gift card to get down there. Copper Rock, where the pros play. And now it is time for your Masters Update.
This 2026 Masters Update live from Augusta is brought to you by Copper Rock, where the pros play on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Bob Casper joins us right now, Real Golf Radio. You hear it every Saturday morning. Bob, have you counted up the years? I mean, are you breaking, 30 years at Augusta? Do you know how many times you've been there?
Probably about 35.
Wow. Never gets old, does it?
No, it doesn't. Yeah. I pinch myself every time I'm able to come here because of the legacy of my father, and it's amazing. I've really, the last couple of years, I get kind of humbled because of what he was able to accomplish in his career, and because I get to enjoy this every year. It's amazing.
You know, the one thing about golf, and I don't know about this new generation of golf, but it felt like Phil and Tiger and those guys, they all understood the history and appreciated the history of the game. Do you get that sense from the new generation as well?
I think there's quite a few of them that are very appreciative of what has come before. I think there's a lot of them that don't necessarily recognize maybe 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 names in the game that have really helped develop the tour to where it is now, and the majors to get to where they are now, and the money to where it has gotten now. But for the most part, they know the traditions, especially of this place, what they need to do to get into that Masters Club where they had the Champions Dinner last night. And they realize that once you do it once here, you get to do it for the rest of your life. And that's what's cool about Augusta, is that they honor their champions, the traditions of winning this championship. And it's pretty cool.
Any feedback from the dinner last night? Sounds like Rory stayed away from the Irish food because nobody apparently likes Irish food. So, but it seems like one heck of a menu for sure.
You there?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, sorry.
No, I got you now. Did you? I
didn't hear what you said.
Oh, okay.
So ask me.
Did you get any feedback from the dinner last night?
I think everybody totally enjoyed it. I mean, you and I would have enjoyed it immensely with a Wagyu filet mignon and some salmon and some elk sliders and, on and on and on. It would have really been a really good meal. My dad would have loved it.
Was there anyone that provided a dinner that didn't hit well with everybody?
Well, it's interesting. A lot of guys, I know Sandy Lyle, he had Scottish food, haggis and stuff like that. And a lot of guys understand that if they see the menu and they don't like it, they're going to order off the menu and get a steak, a really nice prime piece of steak, or they're going to get some fish or something like that. So nobody gets offended by what's presented. But I loved Rory's comment yesterday when somebody asked him about Irish food. Why didn't you do any Irish food? And he says, because I wanted to have a good dinner and enjoy it like everybody else.
Oh, man. All right. So any alterations this year's course at all worth mentioning? They
really didn't do a whole heck of a lot with the golf course. The only thing they did is the 17th hole, par 4. Late in the round, they pushed it back about another 25 to 30 yards on the tee. And it's a difficult hole as it is, but this is going to make it just a little bit more difficult for the guys, especially that don't hit it as far as some of the top guys. So, but that's really the only thing they did. Then they have a player's facility back behind the practice range, and it's in an area that was where they had the players parking before. So what they did is they went in and they dug it out and put players parking underground, and then built a 3-story facility back there that has a state-of-the-art weightlifting and rehab and that kind of area in there. Then on the next floor, the second floor, is a locker room for all the players, and then upstairs is family dining, and it's a whole facility just to give all the players in the event the experience of what they expect it to be at Augusta.
What's our weather looking like this week?
It's going to be perfect.
Nice.
We haven't had any rain whatsoever. We had some rain on Saturday afternoon, a little bit of drizzly rain on Sunday for the drive, chip, and putt later in the afternoon. But then it's been perfect. Today it's about 68 to 70 degrees, a little breeze. And then tomorrow it's supposed to be about 72, then 77 on Friday, and then 84 on Saturday and Sunday. So it's and there's no forecast of rain or anything in the way. So it's going to be a dry Masters. The golf course is going to play firm and fast, and the greens are going to probably be pretty quick.
So you think scores will be won't necessarily be great in this one?
No, they'll be a little bit higher scores. But when I say higher, it's going to be somewhere between 8 and 12 under par.
Okay.
And that's kind of where it sits every single year. These guys understand it. I mean, the last time we had it over par was when Zach Johnson won, and there was a lot of wind and cold weather, and everything just got dried out so much that the golf course was extremely, extremely difficult. So, I would think 6-8 under par is probably going to be a pretty good score this week.
Scotty, still your favorite going into this one?
Well, he is. Everybody's saying, well, what's wrong with Scotty? He wins the first event of the year and then and wins by 5 shots. And then, he's had a couple of top fives and in 2 more events, he hasn't finished worse than 24th. And everybody goes, well, he's not winning. Well, Scotty. He's playing some great golf. He's still clipping along, but he hasn't played for 5 weeks. He hasn't played since the Players' Championship. And he was going to play in Houston and get another rep in before he came to Augusta, but his wife was expecting their second child, and so he stayed home. That child has been born now. She was out here with him at the par 3, carrying him on her chest, and then they had their other boy Bennett with them, walking with Scotty. He's here with his family. Baby's 11, 12 days old, something like that, and
wow.
I expect it to be a great week for him. It always is, but there's a lot of guys that are going to be in the mix this week, no doubt.
Is there somebody that may not necessarily be on the average golfing fan's radar that should be going into this one?
Well, I would say there's a couple. A lot of people. Justin Rose lost last year in a playoff to Rory. He's lost in playoffs twice here, and he's finished runner-up 3 times here. He's 45. He's getting to Jack Nicklaus's age when Jack won at 46. So Justin Rose is a guy that thrives on this golf course. He loves this golf course. So I would look at possibly Justin Rose. Another guy is a guy that was basically a rookie last year. He won the Scottish Open, played in the final round with Rory McIlroy, and looked at him right in the face when he was winning the golf tournament. Finished 4th the next week in the Open Championship, and he's already won twice on the PGA Tour this year, and that's Chris Gotterup. It's his rookie year here at Augusta. If we're going to have another rookie win this golf tournament, I think this guy is going to have a better than average chance. But I think what's really cool is we have this opportunity to complete a career Grand Slam like Rory did last year when he was here. So Scotty Scheffler has the opportunity to complete it at the U.S. Open in June. we've got Jordan Spieth has an opportunity to complete it at the PGA Championship in May. So if Xander Schauffele were to win this week, that gives him 3 legs of the career Grand Slam with a U.S. Open to win, just like Scottie Scheffler. So he's my guy this week. I think Xander Schauffele is going to have a good week this week, and he plays well here. He's had some great finishes and a bunch of top tens.
So Rory was phenomenal last year, wins the Masters, and then it felt like, you know what, I accomplished it. I finally got it, and then he kind of like, wasn't necessarily a big story the rest of the year.
Right.
Do you anticipate that this tournament might reignite him a bit?
Well, I would hope it would. It's been pretty fun to watch him. When he was here for the women's amateur and the drive, chip, and putt, he was wearing the green jacket. In the media room for interviews, he was wearing the green jacket, and guys don't normally do that. I think he really appreciates what he was able to do here and how he was able to notch this as one of the 6 guys who have done a career Grand Slam. But let's not forget, Jack and Tiger have 3 of them. They've won it, the career Grand Slam 3 times,
Jeez.
which is unfathomable. It's crazy. But I would expect Rory to have a good tournament here. He finished second in LA earlier in the year. I would think that, the pressure's off. I think he will play well this week.
All right. So you mentioned Rory's rocking the jacket. If I were there and I'd won it, I would never take the jacket off. I would golf in the green jacket.
Yeah.
But that being said, what are the rules? You don't get to take one home, do you?
Well, so when you win the tournament, you get to take it home for a year.
Oh, okay.
Until the next tournament and until the next one. Then you have to bring it back, and it's put in your locker, in the champions locker room. So otherwise, everybody's jacket is here.
Oh, okay. So let's say you want to wear it to the dinner, but you want it 5 or 6 years.
To the dinner.
Well, I know, but but it was 5 or 6 years ago, and maybe you put on a few extra pounds. Do they give you a new jacket, or how does that work?
They'll alter it, or they'll find one in your size and let you wear it that week.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But the interesting thing here is Augusta National has what they call the Members Pro Shop. And if you go in the Members Pro Shop, there's stuff in there that only members and people that are invited in are able to purchase. They're normal swag from Augusta National. Now, if you go downstairs, okay, you can only get in there by being invited, and it's got a key card system and all that kind of thing. You go in there, and they have a tailor that fits you for your green jacket.
Wow. All right. So, have you been in there, Bob?
I have not been in there.
Oh, okay.
I have not been in there.
Have you seen Jason Kelsey floating around out there?
I saw him a little bit earlier on when they were doing some of the broadcast at the par 3 today, and he was talking to some of the players, which I thought was pretty cool. He had caddy coveralls on and everything. It was pretty fun to see.
Boy, those Kelseys, man, they're cashing in right now.
Yep.
They're everywhere.
Well, you know who else is here?
Oh, who?
Is the Mannings.
Oh, of course they are. They're members, aren't they? Isn't Peyton a man?
They are members. Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
If you win
Remember, I put in a good word for him last year.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Hey, do you?
I said it's your responsibility to follow up with them and get us out there to play.
Absolutely. So, if you win it, do you become a member?
Yes.
Okay.
But only you. You're not a member that can bring people to play or anything like that. It's only you. If you want to bring friends or family to play, then you call Augusta National, and they set it up so that a member can be here to help sponsor you with family members or whatever to come play or friends.
Wow.
Yep.
Hey, you're the best. We appreciate it. Thanks for hanging out with us as always, and we'll talk to you again here soon, Bob.
Okay, Scotty. Take care, bud.
You got it. Real Golf Radio. Of course, their sponsors, Mountain America Credit Union, Mountain Land Supply, Black Desert Resort, Hoops Vision, and Uinta Golf, all helping present Bob and Brian live at the Masters right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
I tell you what, the Kelsey, like Jason, I love Jason Kelsey, but he feels like he doesn't feel like he's Masters material.
No, it's not, he doesn't have that Masters vibe to him. He's more
Happy Gilmore. He's Happy Gilmore. He doesn't belong.
He's more of a waste management guy.
Yes, absolutely. He's the chugging beer. Like you're seeing him going through the crowd, like getting loud. I'm like, that doesn't feel very Masters-ish.
Yeah. I'm sure there's Hootie Johnson or whoever's running the thing right now is like, hey, we don't really like that.
Yeah, could you please bring it down just a little bit?
Keep that dog on.
Yeah,
a leash.
he feels so out of place.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, oh geez. And by the way, ESPN, they are just putting the Kelsey brothers on literally everything. Everything. It's getting a little bit oversaturated, I think.
Yeah, but you know what? When you tap into that Taylor Swift market and they're those nutso fans, then
yeah, but that's the other Kelsey. That's not this Kelsey.
Oh yeah,
Jason doesn't get it.
Yeah, but Jason's there by proxy.
Okay,
essentially.
All right. Okay.
Because look, it is what it is. I mean, honestly, like if
I'm not gonna lie, I got a little Kelsey lash right now going on.
Just
a little
bit.
It's just like, geez.
And
really?
the most likable one out of all of them is the wife of Jason.
Right.
Like she's the only one that I actually don't mind hearing talk. Like Jason was cool for a little bit. Now he's gotten a little bit too much. And it's no fault of his own. He's just
they want him.
Yeah.
He's hot, and like they had him at the indoor golf thing or whatever, and he was like underneath the stage. Did you see him underneath there?
Yeah.
Like seeing how the stage shifts and works and all. I was like, this is weird. It feels out of place.
And honestly, coming from two AFC West guys, we can't like Jason. Or no, I mean Travis.
No. I don't care.
Like he will.
I don't even care when he retires. Nope. It doesn't matter to me. That guy. No.
Nope. Can't do it. And that's what's really funny is that, you've got Taylor Swift fans coming in and they're like, well, why do you not like Travis? Like, because he plays for the Chiefs. Oh, that matters? Yes, that matters.
Absolutely,
that absolutely matters.
Yes.
Can't cheer for that guy. He's one of the enemy, for crying out loud.
And even if he came to the Raiders, I don't think I would still like him right now because, one, he's washed up.
Yeah, he is washed up. Put up good numbers last year, but still,
he did.
Washed up. All right, what you may have missed coming up next, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends.
Nice.
This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Kicking off your 1 o'clock hour, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Scott Gerard with you. Hope you're all well as we reach the midway point of the week. It's all downhill from here, folks. It's always kind of a weird time of year when you get done with college hoops, the NCAA tournament, you got the Masters, but does that really scratch the itch? Because you've been knee-deep in football, NFL, college football, college hoops, and you got the NBA playoffs that aren't quite there yet, and you're kind of stuck in limbo here a little bit.
By the way, is this not the most fitting song?
Oh, yeah.
Right now?
Nice.
Take the money and run?
Take the money and run.
That's where we're at in college
athletics
right
The portal is a weird place right now. And, look, I hate, and this is old man take. I'm more than happy to admit it. Okay, if I were 18 and I was a college athlete, I would think completely different. So take it for what it's worth. But the old man, 40-something-year-old in me despises the free transfers, the unlimited free transfers. I think you should get one, and if your coach leaves, yeah, you should get another one.
And I don't even blame him though, because that's what the rules are.
Yeah.
So do whatever you have to do. Don't blame him.
Don't blame him.
Not one bit. And I do the same thing. Absolutely.
I said I hate the rule. I don't hate the player.
No.
And so. Yeah, I mean, I would do the same. But the fact is, transfer portal season is like the NFL free agency on steroids because everybody can hop in. Imagine the NFL every February after the Super Bowl, February 15th. It's like everybody becomes a free agent.
Dude.
And every team just gets reshuffle the deck. It's crazy.
I think I saw the other day it was 2,907 that were in the transfer portal, and there's only 5,000 players in college athletics.
And
that's more than half.
And
that's over.
And that doesn't include the seniors who don't have any eligibility left.
Right.
So teams are turning over almost 2/3 of their roster on average. Some are doing a complete whitewash of their teams, where it's just, remember 3 years ago when Utah State and Danny Sprinkle came over, and he didn't have a single member of that team that had minutes from the previous year. He only had a couple walk-ons, or not walk-ons, a couple of guys that redshirted, that were available for him that year. Other than that, no returning minutes, no returning points. And everybody's like, whoa, this is nuts. This is crazy. Well, guess what? That happens all the time now. And that was just 3 years ago. Now, it's kind of, I don't want to say it's par for the course, but it's not rare at all for a team to do a complete 180 and have only one guy returning or two guys returning or zero returning players. And then you hope that they can come together and you hope that they have some level of chemistry, because also coaches right now are not being hired simply based on their X's and O's and what they bring to the table from he's got recruiting capabilities here and he wins and he's great in late game situations. Nobody runs baseline out of bounds plays better than this guy. No, what coaches, if you're an AD and you're hiring, you're taking all that into consideration, sure, but you're also like, okay, what players are you bringing with you? Because I need to know who's coming with you in the portal. Because if you bring guys with you, then guess what? Then we can bring a team together that's got a little bit of cohesion and off we go. But if you don't have anybody with you, that's why I think a lot of assistants are having hard times getting jobs right now, because they might bring a couple with them, but head coaches are usually going to be the one that brings the majority of the talent. I mean, look, Jared Calhoun's going to Cincinnati. Jared Calhoun's probably going to take a few. He's already got one. He'll probably have two or three more Aggies that are on that team. So it's the world we're living in right now. Steve Bartle, Ute Insider, kind enough to join us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. What is and we'll get to spring football. I know that's the number one priority of what we're going to talk about here, but is it going to be a complete overhaul to Alex Jensen's roster next year? Because it doesn't seem like there's a lot of returning minutes left on that team.
Sorry, Scotty, you were kind of breaking up, but I assume that was a question about Alex Jensen's roster, and I heard overhaul. So
yeah,
I'll kind of piece it together.
Yeah, take it from there.
I think I can pick up. Anyways, I think this is going to be a pretty significant overhaul from what we saw the roster we saw this season. And part of that is, obviously with guys like Terrence Brown and Keanu Dawes, those guys really proved to be productive players in a very competitive conference. And so, for Terrence and Keanu, the opportunity for Keanu, the opportunity to potentially return home to Texas, where his mom resides in Houston, is an appealing choice. And then with Terrence, I think this is a big opportunity for him to move on and look for a situation where he can go to one of these blue bloods. But for Utah, this is a real opportunity for them to reset what they're to reset and really build. This is going to be kind of the real first opportunity for Alex and Wes to start to recruit and build this roster with actual intent towards their vision and what they want this basketball program to look like. So, for Terrence and for Keanu, obviously there's appeal beyond, Utah and money, but for the majority of the rest of the roster, it's really an opportunity for Utah to look for upgrades, to look for better fits in terms of what they're trying to build. And I think Alex and Wes are going to be much more prepared. It's interesting with college football and college basketball in the transfer portal, because even though the transfer portal opened up officially Monday night.
Yeah, I got you. I know where you're going with this.
Yeah, for the portal is done well before the portal officially opens. And going back to last year when Alex took over, he had 2 to 3 weeks to prepare for the portal and the work that is done there, when most of college basketball gets 3 to 4 months to prepare. And that includes, evaluations, that includes building relationships with agents and all of that sort of stuff. So Utah now getting a full year with Alex and Wes in place, they're going to be so much better prepared in terms of evaluations and relationships, but also better equipped with resources to field the type of team that can be more competitive in the Big 12 as well.
Steve Bartle, Ute Insider, joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, so Steve, when you look at this team as they continue to grow and develop during spring ball, a lot of love for the wide receiver group. Could this be the deepest that room's been in quite some time?
And I tell you, it's really impressed so far through spring. And obviously, when you have, the um, type of talk that the receiver room has gotten this spring, it can raise some ears as to what's going on up there and how much is this just hype and how much of this is actually real. And for media members, we've had quite a bit more access this year in terms of what we're able to watch. And during our practice viewing sessions, we've watched this receiver room make a lot of really impressive plays. And, it's been the guys that they brought in the portal and Braden Pagan and Kyrie Scholes. They've lived up to their billing. And you got an up close look at what Pagan is all about up there in Logan last year. And you know what he's all about. And we've seen a lot of that translate so far in spring ball. What's been really, what's led to a lot of the positive talk with this receiver room and in all of that is the development of other guys that have seemingly come out of nowhere. Creed Whittemore, you look at his numbers last year, pretty modest numbers. I think he finished with, maybe around 100 yards total and a touchdown last year, but came on strong over the last couple of games, filling in for Ryan Davis. He's come into spring ball and he's taken a step forward where he's making more plays consistently. Nate Johnson was, a Swiss Army knife, a converted quarterback. And, last year his involvement was, mostly gadget play type of stuff where it was, super easy to get him involved. But Nate has taken a significant step forward. He's bought into being a receiver full time, and watching his development over the course of spring has been really encouraging. We watched him make two really impressive plays on Tuesday at practice where he's going up in contested situations and making really impressive grabs. So it's not just that it's Braden Pagan and Kyrie Scholes, the two big transfer additions that Utah made. It's the development of others in that room that's really kind of led to the encouraging and positive talk around that group.
What's the early thought process on Kevin McGivern and what he's trying to build up there?
It's been interesting, getting to watch this offense and, going back to our practice viewing session yesterday, we got to watch a lot of 2-minute offense, situational football that Morgan Scally talked about in his media availability. And I don't know that we watched a single run play during our 20 minutes, which is just, when you talk about Utah football and what we've seen over the years, that's just, I don't know if I could ever say that before when Kyle Whittingham or was at the helm or Jason Beck was coaching the offense last year, Andy Ludwig before that. So that has been really interesting. And I think when you talk about McGivern and what he's trying to do, he's really trying to develop complete players. And that's not just at quarterback, that's at other positions like running back. And so, they are looking for players to develop, beyond just what their natural strengths are. For example, running back like Steve Chavez Soto, he's been brought in because he's a physical runner, will fit great with somebody like Wayshawn Parker because of the physicality that he runs with. But a lot of the talk around Steve has been developing, his pass catching ability so that, it's not as predictable when he's in there. And I think that extends beyond just the backfield in what they're trying to develop there. They're really trying to develop complete players across the board. So I think that's been really interesting. And then in terms of what we've seen with the offense and the passing attack, a lot more structure, a lot more.
Yeah.
There are route concepts that create a lot of conflict for cornerbacks. It's just been a lot of fun to watch, and I think that's going to be a major shift from what we've seen in years past is this emphasis towards the passing game, and even being tilted towards the throw game with McGiven at the helm.
Early thoughts on, and I always feel uncomfortable asking questions like this because it's spring, but I know a lot of things kind of get settled in spring, especially when you're bringing in new players. So it may not be a fair question to ask, but I'll just, the offensive line, what the battles to look for. What are you seeing from that group in your observations?
Yeah, I'm seeing a group that is coming, that has made progress and is coming together. Talking about, they do a good job of mixing up lineups, but there's a group of guys in Zeroy Williams, Soloto Moyai, Alex Harrison, Keith Olson, and Cedric Jefferson that have really, in my opinion, have become, the top five in that group. I've been really impressed with Zeroy Williams. I've talked a lot about him this offseason. Stepping into that left tackle position in that bowl game against Nebraska, he looked comfortable, and he's been in the program a long time. And we had the opportunity to hear from him Tuesday, and he's credited the coaches and the staff for sticking it out with him. He's suffered a lot of injuries over the course of his career, and for him, this is a big opportunity to step into a role, a really important role, and to put himself on the map. And there are a number of other guys that fit that same sort of conversation. Keith Olson, Soloto Moyai, these guys have had to kind of wait their turn, and now they're getting an opportunity to really kind of step forward. And I've been impressed by that group specifically. I think the big concern for me with that offensive line unit is the group behind them, the second unit. Utah's, not only did they have a phenomenal starting five, last season, obviously headlined by Spencer Fano and Caleb Lomu, but they had depth. And when guys had to rotate in for injuries, there was always a strong standard of play because they had that sort of depth. And that's kind of where my concern is the drop off from that first to second group. And I think Coach Gross has done a really good job of developing, linemen over the course of spring ball. But I think that second unit is going to need to really kind of put in the work this offseason going into the summer and really develop. But there are still some guys in that room that I've been impressed with, in moments and in flashes. A guy like Isaiah Garcia is also somebody that's had to battle through injuries over the course of his first 2 years with the program now. But I've seen encouraging things from him. Another guy, Nick Halleck and Soren Schenofield, are two offensive tackles that I think could develop really nicely under Jordan Gross, given kind of the similar builds and frames and types of athleticism that they have compared to what Gross was as an athlete, as an offensive tackle in the NFL. So there are pieces here that have flashed in moments, but just raising the consistency and the standard of play is going to be a big process for Gross and Gerke in that offensive line room.
Just looking at your Twitter account, I know that there's been some players that have committed to the University of Utah. What is this time of year like when it comes to recruiting? This isn't where you're going to get a lot of wave of commitments, is it? That'll probably come a little bit later on in the year.
Yeah, the big wave now in the recruiting calendar is the month of June. That is when you're going to see, all of the official visits take place is in the month of June. And from that point on, that's when you start to see, a lot of action on the recruiting trail. But, getting a head start in spring is always helpful. And, they've had a commit in Kingston Parks, who is the younger brother of Money Parks. And they've had that since this past season. They added to it yesterday with the commitment of Jack Henderson, a defensive end, from Idaho, the number one player in the state of Idaho. And, he's a guy that really fits well in that defensive end room, in my opinion. And, so you're starting to see Utah put together some pieces in that class, starting to gain some momentum potentially. But right now, this is an opportunity for programs like Utah and and BYU to bring in recruits consistently, to come out, check out a practice or two, and to interact with players, to interact with coaches. So that's what the recruiting process looks like right now. You're seeing a lot of guys up at practice tweeting about the opportunity to visit Utah. And, for Coach Scally and his staff, the opportunity to bring in guys that they feel good about, at a time like this is really valuable, because that just sets you up for momentum and building that momentum towards the summer.
So I get asked all the time, and I'm sure you do as well, and you're more in tune with what's going on up there than I am. But we heard the press conference with Mark Harlan a year or so ago about the venture capitalists, the money, that infusion of money that's expected to be coming to the University of Utah. Then things kind of went quiet. Is there an update on where that's at right now? And are these coaches able to access that money right now?
So the deal is not finalized just yet. I know that much, but I've been told that they are nearing the finalization of the deal. And this is, I've reached out to people that are familiar with these types of deals, and this is pretty standard stuff where you announce something like this, and then there's a lot of work to get it finalized and just piecing together what all of it looks like, because this is a lot. It's not just money. It's it's responsibilities. It's developing a new LLC and having a staff to run that new LLC. And, Utah has honed in on a few candidates to play certain roles within that LLC. And so Utah is getting close to that being finalized. They don't have access to the money just yet. And that's fine. Utah's in a good spot with the resources that they have available to them, but it is getting close. And I would be surprised if this gets past, the month of May. I think we're that close to this being done.
I don't know if people understand the amount of layers of bureaucracy that has to go through for something like this to go through. It's not something you can just put together overnight, for sure. When you're talking about educational institutions, government, everybody wants to take a peek at it. I can imagine why this has taken a while.
Yeah, it definitely has. And Utah did a lot of homework, a lot of groundwork prior to announcing it, where they felt comfortable with what they were doing and how it would go. And obviously, when it was announced, there was some pushback by leaders, in the legislature, and there's been a process of getting the legislature up to speed on everything going on. And so I think Utah's in a good spot with the Otro Capital deal. And like I said, I think they are close to getting this thing to the finish line.
One golf course in America you could play right now. Is it Augusta, or where would you go? I know you're a golfer, man.
Man, yeah, it's Augusta. Like, that is just the dream course to be able to play that with, the history there. Is just, just being there. If I could just go, if I could, secure my tickets, like, that would be the dream. Just to walk the course, to be a patron there would be a dream come true, let alone play it. If I could play it someday, man, I would. Tell me what you want from me and I'll do it.
Okay, but you understand, like, look, I'm assuming you're a pretty good golfer, but knowing the course is going to just eat you up, are you still okay playing it just because you can say you played Augusta?
Absolutely, 100%. I will take my triples and quadruple bogeys. I will do whatever just to play that course again with the history there, and just knowing that, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, Scotty Scheffler, all of these guys have played this course, the history even beyond, recent history. It's just, it would be everything.
I shot a 120 at Augusta. Yes, sir. I don't care.
And I would say that proudly.
Proudly, yes. Hey, you're the best, man. Appreciate it, Steve. We'll talk again here soon.
Sounds good, Scotty. Appreciate you, brother.
There he is, Steve Bartle, one of the best out there, covering all Utah athletics at KSLSports.com. He is our Ute insider right here on the Zone. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is your good, it is your bad, it is your ugly right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, so this has gotten a lot of run lately, and I think it's a big nothing burger, honestly. I think coaches say stuff all the time, and they try to act tough, and they try to act like they're the drill sergeant in the league or of the team, and this is just a coach just talking coach speak. I've been around coaches a long time, and you know when they're being serious about things. And I'm not saying he's joking. I think he believes what he's saying, but don't think that he's not going to recruit a guy just because of his belief in ice cream. Here is the quarterback coach for the University of Oregon talking about what he likes and what he's looking for in a quarterback.
Like, I ask him a question like this all the time. Hey, do you like chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream? Okay, the minute a kid pauses, I don't really want that kid, right? Because you need to have some type of conviction, right, wrong, or indifferent. Okay, so whether you like chocolate or you like vanilla, I don't really care. But if you sit there and say, coach, I don't know. Is it melted? Is it not? What's the brand? So on and so forth. Like, what is this kid going to do on third down in front of 110,000? He's probably going to think about it more than he should. He's not going to have conviction, right? So it's, like I just said, long-winded, I understand, but it's the mental aspect is really what we're after.
And so, honestly, all right, first off, Lloyd, chocolate or vanilla? Go.
Vanilla.
Second, what if they don't want chocolate? Like you like chocolate or vanilla?
I agree. What if it's not one of them?
Well, wait a minute. I like cookie dough ice cream, and now that's kind of a vanilla base. So does that mean I need to go vanilla? Or you got the cookies and cream. I mean, what is that vanilla?
I'm an Oreo guy, to be honest.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
you.
Like if somebody asked me that, do you like chocolate or vanilla? I'm going to take some time. I'm like, well, okay, wait a minute. Are we talking soft serve? Are we talking in a cone or in a cup? What kind of look? If the toppings are involved here, that's going to directly affect whether it's a vanilla base or a chocolate base. Like, I want to know. And frankly, this guy he's just talking. Don't take this stuff seriously. If he's got a 5-star guy as a quarterback coming in and he's like, all right, Bobby, do you like chocolate or vanilla? He's like, well, I'm kind of a strawberry guy myself, but I don't know. He's like, well, get out of my building. Of course not.
He wants to be a social media clip.
Exactly.
He wants to get some run on this. It's like the coaches that judge, or somebody that's hiring judges by what their wife looks like.
I was gonna go there. Yep.
That's what it's like.
Yeah.
It's something like that. Like it's just something to grab people's ears.
It's coaches trying to sound like they're the smartest guy in the room. And look, it's no knock on the coach. I've been around a lot of great coaches that throw out dumb stuff like this that I like personally, and even I know deep down they don't believe the stuff they're saying, but they think they have to because they're a coach and they need to be smart and got this Tony Robbins kind of vibe to them. Stop it. You know what? Honestly, it's not a big. This is why we all loved Mike Leach, because Mike Leach was just Mike, and he had his own quirky things. But number one, he believed in the stuff that he talked about, and number two, he realized that let's not take ourselves so seriously.
There was nothing fake about Mike Leach.
No.
At all.
And look, I know this guy, I don't think he's like trying to be Mr. Tough Guy. He wants to be that guy, but it's not genuine. And I'm sure he's a good coach. Look, if you're at Oregon and you're coaching quarterbacks at Oregon, you're probably a good coach.
I'm sure your player's going to be able to make a decision in the fourth quarter just fine. Not knowing if he wants chocolate or vanilla. I think he'll be just fine.
That has more to do with you as a coach.
Yes.
Than it does.
In fact, if the coach asks me that, you know what? I might be questioning if I actually want to go to this school.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, I've got a coach ask me about vanilla or chocolate? Really?
And frankly, if look, let's say you've got that quarterback and he's driving, you're down by 4 and there's 2.5 minutes left and you get inside the red zone and he throws an interception and the game's over in front of 110,000 people and the head coach goes to you and you're like, hey, what happened there? Well, you know what? He's not a vanilla guy. And he really couldn't make a decision. I told you, Coach.
I warned you.
I told you.
He didn't have any idea what he wanted.
Like, I did everything I could with what I had. But, Coach, I told you not to recruit this kid because he couldn't decide whether he liked vanilla or chocolate. And right now, that translated into him screwing up out there on the field.
God bless him, but
that's on you.
Coaches, man, they're weirdos.
They are weirdos. They are weirdos. I love them to death.
Absolutely.
I was texting back and forth with a coach today that I love and admire and I think nothing highly of. And I'm going through in fact, I'll show you in the break, and I'm like, you're a weirdo. Like, you are just a weirdo. And I love him. I absolutely love him. But
There are weirdos.
you have to be wired a little differently to be a high-level coach. You just are. There's a reason why some of these guys are very successful. They work hard. They're incredibly intelligent. But, boy, they are quirky as hell. And it just is. And there's guys that will find ways to be angry and motivated when they have no business whatsoever to be angry and motivated. They'll take anything as a slight. Like, these guys are just different. They're just different, and you have to be different. This is why I worry about Morgan Scally at Utah, because Morgan's one of the most normal people I know. And that's almost like a bad thing for a coach. When you're like, okay, this is a guy that you can sit down and have a normal conversation with. You can have dinner with. You can talk about all different types of things, from sports to politics to music to religion, whatever, and have a normal, down-to-earth conversation with this guy. And it's like, well, wait a minute. I don't know if that necessarily translates into being a head coach.
Yeah.
Now, look, I know Morgan's going to be great. I have no doubt whatsoever. But that you almost are worried for a guy when they have some level of normalcy, because these guys are they're weird.
Let's be honest. And he spent enough time with Kyle Whittingham, and he's been in the coaching profession long enough. I'm sure he's a little bit of a weirdo now.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure it's worn on him.
Yeah. All right, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up in the 2 o'clock hour, we've been talking to Jay Stevens like crazy. Ooh, Lloyd, I'm a little concerned. After a big win last night, we don't bring Jay on.
No, we'll be fine.
Are we breaking?
No, we'll be fine.
I don't want to jinx the Mammoth here.
I don't think
we're
going to jinx them. Well, you know what? If they end up losing, that's all. We'll take it. I'll take it.
We'll throw Greg Wyshynski under the bus, because he will join us coming up at 1:05. Senior NHL writer for ESPN. Get his thoughts on what we saw from the Utah Mammoth last night in a crazy, emotional, awesome victory against the Edmonton Oilers right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Breaking down the teams you're passionate about. This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
And it's sped to safety by Jesperi Kapanen. Ahead comes Nugent-Hopkins. He shoots and scores! Ryan Nugent-Hopkins makes it 3-1. And the Oilers have 3 goals on 6 shots. One-timer from Kerfoot, and that didn't miss the top left corner by much. Jersey swings it towards the net, and they score! Put another one in the tip jar for Alexander Kerfoot, and we're tied at 5. 7:04 to go in the third, and the Delta Center is alive. The Mammoth power play has been as hot as it's been all year over the last 5 games, in which they have 9 power play goals. They win the face-off here. It's a 4-on-3. Sergachev this way for Keller. Right dot, he shoots and scores! Captain on deck! A 6-5 overtime win for the Utah Mammoth. Statement made!
What a game last night in the Delta Center as the Mammoth get the 6-5 victory over. Boy, I tell you what, you get a win against Edmonton, a team that the Mammoth had not beat in their short history, starting to get to 2 full seasons now, but the Mammoth get over the hump. They get the win in OT, and helping break it down, Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer at ESPN. And there's certain games, Greg, where it just kind of feels like, okay, this team's kind of arrived. And I know they've been holding on to that playoff spot for a while now, but that seemed to be a moment that I think a lot of Mammoth fans are going to look at and say, okay, you know what? We can hang with these guys. We're all right. We're a pretty good team.
I think we've been talking now for about 90 seconds, and you've yet to mention the Mammoth.
I know.
Which I think is really the takeaway from yesterday.
Hey.
No, man, it was a ton of fun, that game. Obviously, both teams didn't exactly play the most exemplary defense in that contest last night, but that's fine. Sometimes, if you're a team proving your worth against one of the teams that, obviously has been amongst the NHL's elite, having gone to the Cup final in consecutive seasons, you've got to show you can win in different situations. So, Edmonton bought it offensively. Utah matched it, and it was a really solid victory and a fun one, too.
Bottom line is the Mammoth are 1-0 with the Zamoth out on the ice. So
that's right. And I saw Ryan Smith saying, "Hey, can we start a new victory tradition of having the mascot wave the flag and the Zamoth afterwards?" I'm like, come on, man, you got to let that happen organically. Like, you can't declare that as the victory celebration, but hey, it is, as you said, 1-0 with the Zamoth. So some Zamoth magic running through the franchise.
So how much do you look at the Edmonton Oilers if they're healthy and they get that full lineup back in the playoffs? How much improved is that team going into postseason play?
Yeah, I think they'll definitely. I mean, obviously, you want to be at full strength when you get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I think the issue for the Oilers, for me at least, having covered them extensively in the last couple of playoff runs, is that I just don't think top to bottom they're as good as they were in previous seasons, and that's kind of my concern. Not only the depth in the lineup, missing some key players. I mean, like a guy like even Corey Perry, for example, who always brings it in the postseason, is no longer there. But they made a clear downgrade in their goaltending, going from Stuart Skinner to Tristan Jarry, who's certainly not been anywhere near a solution for their goaltending problems. So. Listen, there. Anytime you've got McDavid and Draisaitl, we're assuming Draisaitl will be back for Game 1 of the playoffs. It's bad news for your opponent, but I'm just not nearly enamored with this Edmonton team as much as I was with their previous incarnations.
What do you look at when you see the Mammoth as the strength and the things that you really like about this squad?
Well, I mean, obviously, the first and foremost is the ability to put the pedal down offensively when they need to. Just such an impressive collection of young offensive talent on this team. I was looking at their numbers since the Olympic break, and it's interesting. They've done well, no doubt about that. But I mean, you think about their expected goals for. It's actually higher than the goals. Rather their goals. Expected goals for is kind of right around what they're scoring, so it's not necessarily like they should be doing better than what they're doing offensively. I think if anything, they're analytically playing better defense than what they're doing in actuality. So there's room for improvement there. But I think what's most intriguing about them as a playoff contender right now is just the unbridled enthusiasm of the newness of it all. Like, the first time you get a Stanley Cup playoff game in Salt Lake is going to be incredible. And we're already feeling that playoff atmosphere like we saw last night with the Oilers game. So, having that excitement, having a collection of players, let's not forget, they've been dying to get into the playoffs again, thinking about their time in the previous stop for this franchise. All that adds up to it just being, the kind of enthusiasm that can carry you through a few rounds of these playoffs.
When you look at Cooley and where he's at this point in his career and kind of project into the future, I mean, you see the guy and he still looks like he's, 12 years old. But you watch him out on the ice, it's like this guy has a chance to be really special. What's the ceiling on a kid like that?
Well, the ceiling should be he should have a gold medal around his neck in 2030 with Team USA.
Yes.
I mean, he's outstanding, and obviously, one wonders what this season would have looked like for him had he been able to play, more than 49 games. I think statistically, he's been good, but I mean, he was on such a heater before the injury. So, I think in Cooley's case, the sky's the limit. He's clearly, one of the key players for this team now and one of the faces of the franchise. But I can tell you from around the league, I mean, people just look at him and say to themselves, this is going to be one of the, biggest offensive stars that we have in the NHL for the next, decade.
So you look at the race, and Nashville's hanging around, and that's the game coming up on Thursday. How do you see that one going down?
Yeah, I mean, it's been such a weird playoff season, right? Like Nashville is a team that I think everyone basically had written off. There was much more interest in who they were going to trade at the deadline from that core of veteran players than whether or not they could actually make the playoffs. They still only have around a 22% chance of making the cut, but they keep on picking up points and making things interesting. And those veterans as their goaltending has come through in a pretty big way. So, listen, it's going to be a tough game. They're a team that clearly has designs on making the playoffs. The interesting thing for Utah, though, with regard to the playoff picture, I was going on Stathletes, which is an analytic company that ESPN uses with frequency. And right after Minnesota and Dallas, which is at a 100% certainty of happening because they, are going to clearly play each other in the first round, at 76% probability was a Utah-Vegas first-round series, which would be geographically intriguing.
Yes.
But also really intriguing given the changes, the major change that the Golden Knights made with their coaching situation, recently with John Tortorella coming in. So I don't know. I'm just excited. I mean, the West has been such a crapshoot as far as like who's actually going to make this wild card and where these teams in the Pacific will end up finishing. That it's just fun to kind of fantasy cast who the first round playoff matchups could be.
Hey, for those of us that are still trying to learn about the landscape of the league and the intricacies of other organizations, if somebody looks at somebody wrong in that Vegas organization, do they get fired? I mean, it seems like they don't mess around down there.
They don't, and it's funny. Like I think a lot of us in the media have referred to them as ruthless, and the organization likes to push back on that characterization. But I mean, they're ruthless. Like they have absolutely no compunction to just make major changes, and it doesn't matter if you're a coach that won a Stanley Cup championship. It doesn't matter if you're going back a few years, Marc-Andre Fleury, the face of the franchise when they were an expansion team. Like they're going to make changes and make drastic changes in service of trying to win a Stanley Cup, which is the mission that their owner Bill Foley has put them on. So. I mean, they've earned that reputation. I remember writing a big long essay about how they were one of the NHL's greatest villains when they won the Stanley Cup, and frankly, that mindset got them the cup, and that mindset may actually have saved their season because in the games they played since Tortorella took over for Bruce Cassidy, they've been great. They're undefeated under Tortorella. They're playing incredibly good defense for him, and he may have been the right guy to give them a kick in the pants and make them a very difficult playoff opponent.
So you look at, and Bill Armstrong comes on with this every week, and he talks, at least early in the season, he talked about goal differential. Is that something you got to keep an eye on? The Mammoth have 88 points and are plus 31 in goal differential. You look at Nashville, they're at 84 points and minus 18 in goal differential. You got Anaheim at minus 19 with 87 points. Is there a way to explain that for those of us that are trying to still figure this thing out?
I mean, good goaltending is one part of it.
Yeah.
I think clearly the Mammoth have gotten that for most of the season. In the Ducks case, they're in kind of a perilous situation right now. They're not guaranteed to make the playoffs. They're in a bit of a losing skid right now. They've got not only Los Angeles, but San Jose nipping at their heels as potentially moving into one of those top three spots in the Pacific Division. And I think part of that is that they're such a young team. I've long thought they just don't know how to defend yet on a playoff level. And that could ultimately be their undoing because I think their goaltending and Lucas Dostal really saved their bacon for most of the season. So, again, it's one of the things about Utah. I know I've extolled the virtues of their offense and their goal scoring and guys like Logan Cooley, but I think fundamentally they've built themselves a nice little team that can defend as well. We didn't really see it all that much last night. But when push comes to shove, I trust them a little bit more than I trust a team like Anaheim to get it done in the playoffs.
Greg Wyshynski, ESPN, joining us right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Was Connor McDavid, was he targeted pretty quick? Did people know, when he's growing up and he's, a teenager and tearing up things, that they knew he was going to be what he's eventually turned into?
It's funny you should say that because I do a podcast with a guy named Jeff Merrick in Canada, and we've done it for, now upwards of probably like 15 years together. And I remember talking to him one day on the podcast, and he's like, there's this kid, Connor McDavid, and he's going to be and at the time, I think McDavid was maybe like 14, right? So it's like, even back then, people knew. And when he was drafted or was entering the draft, that was one of the moments in the NHL where teams were literally emptying out their rosters in the hopes of getting the first overall pick. I mean, Buffalo was a great example of that. Obviously, Edmonton ends up winning the lottery. he was the guy that you threw away your season to try to get, and the tanking was justified. I mean, I think that when you think about the most skilled players in the last 30 years, 40 years in the NHL, McDavid is right near the top insofar as what he's able to do. You know, the knock on him is he can't win the big one. The knock on him is he doesn't have a Stanley Cup ring yet. But I think a lot of that is more about the team around him than anything that Connor did or didn't do in the playoffs.
What's the bust ratio on those can't miss guys? Is there been a few Ryan Leafs out there?
There have been. I'll say this, the first overall guys, outside of a few exceptions, usually hit. Now, they may not hit on the level of first overall pick all the time, but most of them turned out to be pretty good NHL players. It's the rest of the top 10 that's a little bit tricky. Like, it's funny. My colleague Rachel Dory and I are doing a redraft of the 2016 NHL draft that's going to run on ESPN tomorrow. And when you look back at that draft, Austin Matthews, first overall, pretty smart to take him first. He's great. He's going to be maybe even a Hall of Famer one day. But then, you get past that, and all of a sudden you're looking at guys like Jesse Puljujärvi and Olli Jovalevio and guys that aren't even in the league anymore that were taken in like the top 5. And so it does become a bit more specious once you get past first overall. But usually the first overall guy is the guy that at least gets to star status, if not franchise player status.
All right, so the last time Utah lost, they lost to Alex Ovechkin, who put on a show. Look in the crystal ball. Is he playing again next year?
I'm going to say no. I say that without any solid inside information about it. But, what's left to accomplish? Somebody asked Alex today about the record that Gretzky holds for combined regular season and playoff goals. And you could just see it in Ovechkin's face that he doesn't care. Like, he's got the goals record, right? Like, that's the one he cared about. That's the one he wanted to break. I do think he does have enthusiasm left for this game. And I think that, he enjoys playing with the Capitals. And if they're a team that can contend, he might think about coming back. But, ultimately, like he said today, if this was a situation where he was 25 or 35, he'd come back lickety-split. But when you're 40, you got to think about your body. You got to think about your family. You got to think about all the things that come with getting older. And, he's going to make the decision in the offseason. I reported that back in January, and I think he confirmed it today. And I'm leaning towards his career coming to an end. But, I've been wrong before when I thought that guys could call it quits. It's hard to give this life up, especially when you're Alex Ovechkin.
If you're a Colorado Avalanche fan, is there anything in particular that you can point to and say that makes us nervous going into the playoffs? Because right now they just look like they're steamrolling everybody.
Yeah, it's called the rest of your division. this dopey playoff format that we have, where if you have a top, you could argue that Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota are amongst the top 4 teams in the league and be pretty confident about that. Maybe even they're the top 3 teams in the league. And the bottom line for Colorado is that, after what could be a pretty pesky first-round series against whoever comes in hot in that last wild card spot, now you got to play either Minnesota or Dallas. And both of those teams have the capability of beating the Avalanche in the playoffs. Especially Dallas. I'm pretty high on Dallas. I think that that's a team, obviously, that's made the conference final in multiple seasons. They've got the goaltending. They've got the veterans. They've got a lot of scoring. They're the kind of team that could really give Colorado a push. So, if you're an Avs fan, you hate this. You want an easier path to have been earned for your regular season success. But the bottom line is that, once they get past the first round, assuming they do, they're going to run up right against one of the top 3 teams in the league.
Is there any kind of appetite to try to change up this format?
There isn't, and there isn't because the commissioner Gary Bettman has shut it down at every turn. They like the fact that Dallas and Minnesota are playing in the first round. I think they want there to be a maximum amount of attention on the playoffs in the opening round. Part of the reason they went with this wild card format was to create more opportunities for regional rivals to play each other, and we could get a situation where, for example, the Flyers and Penguins play in the first round based on the current seeding. So that's kind of what they want out of this. That's what they get in most years out of this. It's not fair. I think it diminishes the regular season. But the 2 things that Gary Bettman has always been steadfast on are, one, that he doesn't mind this playoff format, and two, that he has absolutely no appetite for expanding the playoff field, which is why you don't see teams at these like Board of Governors meetings trying to force the issue, even though every other major sport has expanded their postseason field, while the NHL has remained at 16 teams, for forever, like for a really long time.
So next time you're in Salt Lake City, we'll do our best to get you behind the wheel of the Mammoth. All right.
I mean, I don't know if I need to drive it. I would be happy sitting in the back, drinking out of that big horn.
Yes.
Or that big tusk, rather. I called it a horn because it almost looks like a Viking horn. But yeah, the big tusk beer. Give me a big tusk beer and stick me in the back of the Zamboni. I'll take, I'll be happy to just like chill and spin around the ice during an intermission, and I'll be a happy boy. But what's funny? It's like, it just goes to show like a little bit of ingenuity goes a long way. Like not only the fact that it's a recommissioned 2002 Olympic Zamboni, which is like a great backstory, but I've been on social media today, and I'm just seeing all these teams and all these people using AI to create their own version of the Mammoth for like the Flyers or the Blackhawks or whatever, and it's just like. It just goes to show you that Utah was first out of the gate with this idea, and it really sparked a lot of people's imagination.
Well, Greg, we got to do this again, man. This was fun. We appreciate it. And again, next time you're in Salt Lake City, let us know, and we'll find a way to make it happen for sure.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You got it. Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. By the way, good. Lloyd piped in my ear. It was like, hey, how many guys these guys bust? And that's a fascinating point. Apparently, if you're number one overall, there's not a lot of
you
busts.
think about it, NFL, NBA, their number one misses
all the time.
All the time. Like it's not set in stone. But NHL, it just seems like there's more of a higher hit percentage.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Greg Wyshynski, again, you can read his stuff at ESPN.com. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Believe it or not, this guy actually has friends. Nice. This is Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. We talked to, look, earlier in the show, we broke down a little Utah spring ball. Steve Bartle was joining us from KSLSports.com. Let's get the Cougar angle on this as well. Mitch Harper from KSLSports.com, kind enough to hang out with us. Mitch, how are you?
Busy day, Scotty. The portal never sleeps. When people tell me, oh, now that the seasons are over, you got a lot of time on your hands. Sometimes it's busy season.
All right, so Rob Wright hops in the portal. That doesn't necessarily mean a guy's leaving. It just means that he's going to, test and see what else is out there and see what kind of dollar bills are out there. He will be in demand. What are the chances he's back in a Cougar uniform next year?
I think there's a chance. And, it's such unfortunate that it gets to this point because like his situation at Baylor last year, the deck's pretty much cleared for him to be the guy, the number one player. But, Rob Wright, you kind of know what you're getting when you added Rob Wright last year. And Scott Drew was pretty transparent and adamant that Rob Wright signed a contract and he still ended up at BYU. So this was always a possibility, and BYU has done its due diligence with exploring other avenues. But sure, I mean, if you can get Rob Wright back, you definitely, I think, look at that. Now, it hasn't always been successful, whether it was basketball or football. You think back to Cody Epps in football, that didn't work out. It really changed the trajectory of him. But Rob Wright's the best point guard in this portal class. I really believe that. I mean, he's an excellent player, and I know that Cougar fans out there have mixed feelings about Rob Wright, but he, as a ball handler on the offensive end, he's outstanding. Defensively, sure, there's a lot of issues there with Rob Wright that he's got to improve, and I think he did in stretches in the postseason. I think just what's unfortunate, Scotty, is that he tells some outlets, like BYU TV and the Deseret News, that if he's playing college basketball, he will be at BYU. I think what he gave me in Portland was probably the more real answer, where he just didn't know, is what he said. He didn't have a clear idea yet of what his future was going to be. And that's just the nature of what college sports have become, where you almost have to assume everyone is gone until they make it clear as day that they're running it back for another season or re-signing for yet another year. And Rob Wright, he hits the portal, and I'm sure his agents have done tons of back channeling to really know what the market is like. He's not diving in without seeing potentially a robust market without back channeling. But BYU, I think, definitely should not give up on that opportunity to bring back Rob Wright into the fold because he's an excellent player.
Well, and I would certainly, if you're a Cougar fan and you're, angry or upset, I would say this, like, first off, I know these guys are being very well compensated, but it's still a kid. And when you get done with a season, and I've seen this, up close and in person, guys are emotional. They're looking at a situation where these are their brothers. They've just gone to battle. It's been a difficult loss, and everybody's like, let's run it back. Let's go. And then everybody kind of calms down, and then you start seeing some numbers, and you can change your opinion pretty quickly. So I wouldn't hold that against him that much. I know a lot of BYU fans are salty, but at the end of the day, it is a business, and if that's your son, you're going to want him to set himself up as much as he possibly can going into life, and that's a good way to do it.
That's true, and Rob Wright, he's got a lot of siblings too. I think he's the oldest of 8 siblings, so he can really create a lot of wealth for his family potentially with that, and he obviously probably did with BYU as well. It's just kind of strange to see how he's at BYU's annual awards, and then he's hitting the pool. I will say too, though, that this locker room for BYU, I think, was in a pretty good place. This isn't a situation where that they're frustrated with Kevin Young. Now, Kevin Young's a very direct coach. He's point blank, matter of fact, like an NBA coach would be, and I think these players respond to that. But it's almost like the nature of basketball guys are kind of wired this way, where everything is a 1-year deal. Even AJ DeBonsa was, 3 different high schools in 3 years. Rob Wright has been with a lot of different programs. Baylor, BYU, was with a couple different high schools as well. This is just kind of the nature of high-level 5-star basketball players, it seems. If they're not one and done in the NBA, they're going to be looking at their options maybe elsewhere in the sport. But I think that Rob Wright and BYU, I think he's really enjoyed his time at BYU. And I don't think this is a case of he just wanted to get out of Dodge as quickly as possible, because Kevin Young really wanted to build around Rob Wright. He said as much exiting Portland at the NCAA tournament, that he was a guy that they could build around. And I think the challenge, though, for whatever team ends up getting Rob Wright, can he be the leader, a heart and soul of a team? I think that was where he fell flat with this BYU team this past year when challenged by Kevin Young after Richie Saunders goes down. AJ did a solid job. Even he admitted that it was a challenge for him. But for Rob Wright, I think that's still, a difficult proposition for him. And when you bring up the kids piece, he still feels kind of like a kid in many respects, whereas AJ kind of carried himself like a grown man in many aspects, from his media approach and the way he went about his business on and off the court. Rob Wright still feels like that kid that many people refer to these guys as now, even though they're getting tons of money thrown their way and have great opportunities. He still feels like that. So that's a challenge too. And if he was to be back at BYU or wherever he ends up going, that's going to be something I think will be very interesting to see if he can be a leader of a team, because at BYU, I think that kind of came up a little bit short this past year.
So if he does indeed leave, and so you're minus your big 3 from last year, you obviously add the Branch kid, who's expected to be another great player, but how does the team building go forward for BYU with losing your 3 key players, assuming that AJ's not coming back, which I know there's some rumors out there, but he's gone. He's going to the NBA. Come on now.
No question. He better move on. I mean, come on. You got to be the number 1 pick. It makes all the sense in the world for him to move on. It'd be shocking if he returned. So, I mean, BYU's got to get starter caliber players. And I think that's the issue. If you lose a Rob Wright, is you probably only have Bruce Branch and Kennard Davis as guys that you would feel confident could be starters. From the guard line, you'd have KJ Perry, who joined the program at the mid-year point. He's a combo guard, really explosive player. He could be pretty good. I mean, he's kind of a very raw Ja Morant, like when Ja Morant was at Murray State. Very explosive player is KJ Perry. Number 2, junior college prospect in the 2026 cycle. Again, he joined in January, so he's been around the program the last handful of years. And they also get Nate Pickens back, a UC Riverside transfer who suffered a season-ending injury in training camp last October. He told me that he wants to be back at BYU. His expected return is from his injury in May to be cleared for full go. But again, I don't know if you just hand the keys over to those guys. Even with Rob Wright and AJ DeBonsa and Richie Saunders, that was still only good for 10th place in the Big 12. You got to level it up on that starting five, and you got to get more size too. And BYU's been linked to an international player who's 23 years old, just turned 23 from the United Kingdom. He plays currently in Italy professionally in the EuroLeague in Quinn Ellis. He's been linked to Louisville, Kentucky, Duke, BYU as well. He would make a lot of sense. He's kind of in a Yegor Gilman type of mold, a little bit shorter, but a really good passer and facilitator like Yegor was. And Rob Wright was pretty good too. He just maybe took up a little more real estate in the paint than Yegor did during his one season at BYU. And BYU's been linked to some other portal names like a Colby Garland from San Jose State. You probably saw him in the Mountain West. Yeah. He's kind of more like a Rob Wright, where very ball dominant, 20-plus points per game. JJ Mandequit, former Utah Prep player, just completed this past season with Danny Sprinkle and the Washington Huskies. He's in the portal. BYU was heavily involved in his recruitment. They hosted him on a visit with AJ DeBonsa 2 years ago. So there's always players, but again, in the Big 12, where if you're trying to, chase being potentially a top 16 seed, I mean, that's the challenge in front of BYU. They know they have pieces and personnel to get into the tournament and get in the bracket, but I think we're learning as these last couple of years, it's becoming more chalky than ever. You got to get a top 16 seed to really make a deep run. And the personnel that you have currently, that's just not going to be enough. So they got to retool the front court and that guard line if you don't bring back Rob Wright.
Where did things get sideways with Xavier Stanton? Was it just too much too soon for him?
He was a really raw player coming in. I remember talking with Keith Smart, the former Utah Prep head coach who coached Dayton and AJ DeBonsa at Utah Prep. And they loved his shot blocking ability. He was viewed as one of the best shot blockers in the 2025 high school recruiting class, but offensively and defensively, very raw. Some questions too about maybe the level of competition in the region he was playing at in Las Vegas. And that was maybe a byproduct of moving on to Utah Prep for his senior year. He also dealt with knee rehab this past year that caused him to only play 9 games. And he told me that was a knee injury that was probably dating back to his high school career. But, he was at the time before AJ committed the highest rated recruit BYU ever landed. And so you would have thought that 7-footer, you want to spend some time with him, but might have been also just a misevaluation where this learning curve was too steeper than maybe expected. Even though they knew he was raw in many aspects, maybe it was still too steep, because even before the knee rehab really kicked into high gear at the end of non-conference play, he wasn't seeing much time. And so it would make a lot of sense, with him in the portal. He was linked to USC, UNLV when he was coming out of high school, maybe run it back, go to UNLV in the Mountain West and, be a dominant guy. Because again, if you players with the size that he has, if he has a dominant year or two, can always change paths again with the portal and maybe get a bigger payday down the road. So I think it might've been a little bit of maybe too big of a steep learning curve right away, but he's got ability. I just think that the health and combination of maybe the needs of this BYU team, as far as going forward and what they want to be a, top 16 caliber team next year, maybe just didn't align, and he moves on into the portal.
Certainly, when you're able to get a guy like AJ DeBonsa, that's going to inflate your overall payroll, if you will. Does BYU bring that back down, or is that the level that's set? And whether it's AJ or somebody else, or just spread out a little bit more evenly across the team, that's the number that BYU is going to go with going forward.
Yeah, BYU is going to be well resourced, and they can get into the mix for players. As far as the number, I do expect that to be a little bit down this year. because one, the view that they have maybe of this freshman class. Yes, they got Bruce Branch the third, and I don't look at him, and I don't think this BYU team maybe does, as a number one option like AJ was viewed. But still, that this freshman class wasn't as impactful as what the 2026 or 2025 cycle was, and AJ was the top cream of the crop and probably the best guy this past year. But BYU is going to still be a resource. I mean, this is a different year when it comes to rev share, and we know BYU wants to make it clear they live by the rules, crossing T's, dotting I's. There's always workarounds, though, to find ways with NIL deals to make sure you got a very well-resourced roster. And BYU is going to be in the mix. I still think that the boosters, the donors for Kevin Young, they still support Kevin Young and his vision with this BYU basketball program. But, you know, the element of having rev share in place for this portal cycle makes it a little bit different. So you might not have as big of a payroll last season when you had AJ, Rob Wright, and it felt like before rev share went into effect, it was kind of a free-for-all with front-end deals for these players. Now it kind of lowers and maybe limits and makes you have more of a money ball approach to building out this roster for year 3 under Kevin Young.
Mitch, you're the best, man. Appreciate it. We didn't even have a chance to talk spring football. I'm sure we'll have plenty of opportunities to talk about that. But never a dull moment in your world. There's no off season anymore when it comes to college athletics. But again, thanks for all you do.
No problem, Scotty. Take care.
There he is, Mitch Harper, Cougar Insider, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Meet Christine. She loves shopping. And this is the sound of fashion overload. Too many fabulous things, not enough space. So Christine started selling with The RealReal.
I've always loved collecting designer pieces. Gucci bags, Prada heels. But my style keeps evolving. Selling with The RealReal? Game changer. I earn more, and they do everything.
Seriously, just drop off your items or schedule a pickup. We handle the photos, descriptions, pricing, even shipping. You just sit back and watch your items sell fast to our 38 million members.
And I get peace of mind knowing I earn more selling with The RealReal than anywhere else.
Exactly. That's the sound of your closet working for you. The RealReal. Earn more, save time, sell fast. And right now, you can get an extra $100 site credit when you sell for the first time. Go to therealreal.com to get your extra $100. Therealreal.com. That's therealreal.com.
Down to Scotty G and Friends on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Wrapping up another edition of the show, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. A lot of good friends today. Big thanks to Steve Bartle, Mitch Harper, also Greg Wyshynski, and who else did we have a chance to chat with?
Bob Casper.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Live from the Masters.
Live from the Masters, no big deal.
His 35th time going to the Masters.
Yeah, he knew exactly how many times he'd been there. It's like, 34,
I would like to just go
35.
one time.
Just one time. That's it. Just one time. That's all we want. No big deal.
It's not asking a lot.
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Back with you tomorrow. Hey, our good friend Sly Sylvester will be the friend of the day tomorrow. He'll hang out with us for 2 hours from 1 to 3 right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. JJ and Alex straight ahead right here on The Zone.